Black CEO is told to get lost by receptionist. Minutes later, she shuts down the entire company. Look, I don't know how you got in here, but people like you need to use the service entrance. Now. The receptionist's words echoed through the marble lobby of Summit Technologies, cutting through the silence like a razor. Employees stopped what they were doing, curious eyes fixed on the scene. Gabriella Morgan remained motionless, her calm expression contrasting with the storm brewing inside her. At 38, it wasn't the first time that her dark skin had made people assume that she didn't belong in a corporate environment. But it would be the last time Summit Technologies made that mistake. What receptionist Diana Reed didn't know, what no one in that lobby suspected, was that she had just humiliated the CEO of a cybersecurity company worth $4.2 billion. The same CEO that Summit Technologies was desperately trying to win over as a partner to avoid imminent financial collapse. In exactly 3 minutes, Gabriella would be out of that building. In 3 weeks, Summit Technologies would cease to exist. Gabriella discreetly adjusted the Patek Philippe watch on her wrist, a gift she had bought herself when she closed her first billion-dollar contract. Her Italian linen jacket and handmade shoes emanated the kind of luxury that doesn't need to be advertised, the kind that people like Diana Reed, with her fake Tiffany bracelets, would never be able to recognize. Are you deaf? I told you to use the service entrance. Diana insisted, standing up and pointing to the back of the building. I have an appointment with Nathan Blackwell at 9 a.m., Gabriella replied, her controlled voice revealing only a slight accent that hinted at her years of study in Paris. I know. Diana rolled her eyes dramatically. And I have a jet waiting for me to have lunch with the president. Laughter erupted from a nearby group. Fingers pointing. Whispers. The kind of behavior Gabriella had seen in exclusive boardrooms when, a decade ago, she was the only black woman present. The kind of behavior she swore she would never tolerate again. From the mezzanine above, Camila Torres watched uneasily. As one of the few black engineers at Summit, she immediately recognized Gabriella Morgan. Her picture had appeared on the cover of Forbes the previous month. Camila felt a knot in her stomach. Should she go down and intervene? But years of microaggressions in the company had taught her the price of causing trouble. The doors of the executive elevator opened, and Gregory Palmer emerged, impeccable in his Italian suit. The operations director stopped, observing the scene. A flash of recognition crossed his face at the sight of Gabriella, but it was quickly replaced by a cold smile. Instead of intervening, he nodded to the approaching security guards. Miss, we're going to have to ask you to leave, the security guard announced, touching Gabriella's arm. Take your hands off me, she said, her words low but carrying an authority that made the man instinctively back away. Gregory approached, feigning concern. Is there a problem here, Diana? This person is creating confusion, Mr. Palmer. He says he has a meeting with Mr. Blackwell. Gregory studied Gabriella for a moment, then smiled with false kindness. I'm sure there's been some mistake. Why don't we check it outside? Gabriella kept her eyes fixed on Gregory, seeing through the false courtesy. There's no mistake, Mr. Palmer. But clearly there is a fundamental problem in the culture of this company. She turned to leave, but not before Diana whispered, loud enough to be heard, maybe next time try to look less. You know, if you want to get into places like this. By the time Gabriella left through the revolving doors, she was already on the phone. Adam, cancel everything with Summit. Activate the freefall protocol. Immediately. On the other end of the line, her legal director hesitated. Gabriella, that will destroy them completely. Precisely, she replied, getting into her Bentley which was waiting discreetly on the other side of the street. And it's not revenge, Adam. It's consequences. The driver closed the door, isolating her from the outside world while she watched the Summit Technologies tower from the window. On her tablet, she was already accessing detailed profiles of each of the company's executives, information gathered over months in preparation for the partnership. Gabriella slid her finger over Gregory Palmer's photo, stopping at the notes about his attempts to sabotage the deal and his connections to competing companies. A small smile formed on her lips. What Gregory and Diana didn't know was that Summit Technologies was already on the verge of financial collapse, and that Gabriella Morgan would be the last person they saw before the crash. If this story of calculated justice and deserved consequences is intriguing you, be sure to subscribe to follow the unfolding of this meticulous plan. After all, how could an entire company collapse in a matter of weeks? And what would happen when Nathan Blackwell, Summit CEO, found out who had really been humiliated in his lobby? The lobby of Summit Technologies buzzed with chatter and laughter as Diana Reed excitedly recounted how she had put that woman in her place. The receptionist fixed her badge like someone who had just accomplished an extraordinary feat, completely oblivious to the storm she had unleashed. Miles away, in the quiet executive office of Phoenix Security, Gabriella Morgan remained impassive, watching the city skyline through the panoramic window. Her team awaited instructions, the air thick with tension. Summit Technologies has 8 weeks of operating capital remaining, reported Lauren Chun, Phoenix's CFO, scrolling through reports on her tablet. Without our technology and investment, they won't survive the next quarter. Adam Peterson, Chief Legal Officer, leaned forward. Gabriella, canceling the partnership will completely devastate them. It's not just a disproportionate response, it's a fatal blow. Disproportionate. Gabriella repeated the word as if tasting something bitter. What happened in that lobby wasn't a misunderstanding, Adam. It was the symptom of a sick corporate culture. She activated the screen on the conference table. High-definition images of the Summit lobby appeared, showing multiple angles of the incident, Diana sending her to the service entrance, the security guard touching her arm, and the exact moment Gregory Palmer recognized her before deciding to allow the humiliation. "Your team hacked their system?" asked Marcus Alvarez, impressed. "My driver activated our external surveillance system as soon as I entered the building. Standard protocol before any strategic partnership." Meanwhile, at Summit Technologies, Nathan Blackwell unexpectedly returned from a trip, his face red with fury as he marched down the corridors. "Where is Gregory?" his voice thundered. Upstairs, Camila Torres was receiving a mysterious message. "Miss Torres, I'm Marcus Alvarez from Phoenix Security. Gabriella Morgan was impressed by your work on the Sentinel project. I'd like to discuss a professional opportunity." Camila almost dropped the phone. How did they know about her work? The project was confidential, and her supervisor, Ryan Henderson, routinely took credit for her ideas. In Gregory Palmer's office, the COO was wrapping up a video conference with executives from Nexus Dynamics, Phoenix's main competitor. "So it's confirmed?" Gregory smiled. "If the deal with Phoenix fails, are you prepared to move forward?" "Absolutely," replied the Nexus executive. "Our offer remains valid, including your personal transition package." The phone rang. "Mr. Palmer, the CEO is looking for you. You sound extremely upset." In her Bentley, Gabriella was receiving real-time updates. "Summit's investors are panicking," Lauren reported. "The stock is already down 7% just on the rumor of the cancellation." "Which is only the beginning," added Marcus. "Our analysts estimate a 30% drop by the end of the week." "What about the dossier on Gregory Palmer?" asked Gabriella. "Complete," replied Adam. "We found concrete evidence of his dealings with Nexus. Encrypted communications, undocumented meetings, offshore bank transfers. He's actively sabotaging Summit from the inside. Send everything to Nathan Blackwell, but only after the formal announcement of the partnership's cancellation." Arriving at her elegant mansion overlooking the ocean, Gabriella received a message from Diana Reed. "Ms. Morgan, I just found out who you really are. Please accept my sincere apologies for this morning's misunderstanding. Can we talk? I'm desperately sorry." Without replying, Gabriella blocked the number. Regret wasn't a strategy, it was panic. And panic came only when people realized they were sinking. In the office of Summit's CEO, the confrontation was reaching seismic proportions. "Did you recognize her?" Nathan shouted, furious. "Did you see Gabriella Morgan being thrown out of our building and did nothing?" "I thought it was a test," Gregory tried to justify. "An evaluation of our security dash." "A test." Nathan grabbed his own hair in despair. "Our company is dying. We need Phoenix to survive." The phone rang with devastating news. Rumors of the cancellation were spreading. Summit's shares were plummeting. In her home office, Gabriella was preparing an email for Camila Torres, a job offer as director of the new Phoenix Innovation Center, with a tripled salary. Her phone rang. It was Adam. "Gregory Palmer is in touch with your cousin, a reporter from Tech Daily. He's preparing a story painting you as ruthless and vindictive." Gabriella smiled slightly. Does he think he can win this battle in the court of public opinion? It seems so. Let him try. People who underestimate you always make the same mistake. They mistake silence for weakness and strategy for revenge. She sent the email to Camila and activated a holographic screen showing Summit's financial indicators in real time. The numbers were constantly falling, like an electrocardiogram of a company in collapse. What no one at Summit understood yet was that Gabriella wasn't just destroying a company, she was planning to rebuild something better in its place. The people who had underestimated her were about to discover that for some, a humiliation isn't just an incident. It's the catalyst for a transformation that no one could have predicted. 48 hours after the incident in the lobby, the tension was palpable in Nathan Blackwell's office. Summit executives muttered in corners, nervous eyes fixed on screens showing historic falls in the company's shares. The CEO massaged his temples, staring at the official statement that had just arrived. Phoenix Security officially announces the termination of all negotiations with Summit Technologies, citing insurmountable cultural incompatibility. 41%, whispered Christina Wells, CFO, her voice breaking. We lost 41% of our market value in 2 days. I've never seen anything like it. Gregory Palmer maintained a forced calm, although drops of sweat betrayed his nervousness. It's a setback, but we have alternatives. Nexus Dynamics has already shown interest. The door to the meeting room opened with a bang. Camila Torres entered, tablet in hand, ignoring the protests of the secretary who was running after her. Mr. Blackwell, you need to see this now, said Camila, her voice trembling with contained urgency. She projected a sequence of emails onto the main screen. Emails from Gregory Palmer to Nexus Dynamics executives, dating back months. These documents show Mr. Palmer offering Summit confidential information in exchange for a guaranteed position at Nexus when, not if, Summit goes bankrupt after the failed partnership with Phoenix. The blood left Gregory's face. That's fabrication. An illegal invasion. It's not fabrication, Camila interrupted him. I set up that server. I know every byte of data that passes through it. And these emails were sent from your terminal, using your digital signature. Nathan Blackwell stood up slowly, his gaze fixed on Gregory like a predator. Did you deliberately sabotage our last chance of survival? While we were sinking, did you build your lifeboat? Before Gregory could answer, all the screens in the room flashed simultaneously. The financial news channel appeared, the anchor with a grave expression. Breaking news, Summit Technologies faces charges of unethical conduct after viral video shows discriminatory treatment of Phoenix Security CEO Gabriella Morgan. Sources indicate that Phoenix has canceled a vital partnership that could save Summit from imminent bankruptcy. The screen split to show the video of the incident in the lobby, captured in high definition and from multiple angles. Diana Reed ordering Gabriella to use the service entrance. Gregory Palmer recognizing her and not intervening. The guards escorting her out. My God, Christina whispered, horrified. Nathan's phone rang. It was Akira Tanaka, his biggest client. Nathan, Akira's voice sounded over the speakerphone. I'm watching the video now. I can't associate my company with this. We're invoking the ethics clause to terminate our contract. While Nathan begged Akira to reconsider, Gregory slipped discreetly out of the room. In the hallway, his phone vibrated with a message from Nexus Dynamics. Considering recent events, we cannot proceed with our previous agreements. Your position is no longer available. In the Phoenix security office, Gabriella watched the repercussions in real time. There was no vengeful satisfaction on her face, just the calm of someone watching the natural outcome of a meticulously executed plan. Summit is in free fall, Adam reported. 3 major clients have already canceled contracts, citing ethical concerns. The stock exchange has suspended trading in its shares after consecutive falls. What about Gregory Palmer's package? Asked Gabriella. Marcus Alvarez smiled slightly. It leaked anonymously to Summit's board and the Securities and Exchange Commission. He's being escorted out of the building as we speak. Lauren entered the room, genuine excitement on her face. The board just approved it unanimously. We're going to acquire the Summit building when the liquidation begins. And Camila Torres? Asked Gabriella. She accepted our offer 20 minutes ago, confirmed Marcus. She was instrumental in exposing Gregory Palmer. Gabriella nodded, satisfied. Begin the final phase. Across town, Diana Reed sat in her car in the Summit parking lot, staring at the resignation letter in her hands. Her phone kept vibrating with notifications. Her name and face were everywhere, a symbol of the corporate prejudice that had destroyed a billion-dollar company. When she looked up, she saw Gregory Palmer being escorted by security guards, a box of personal belongings in his hands, his expression devastated. In the middle of the chaos, Nathan Blackwell received a surprising phone call. "Mr. Blackwell, this is Gabriella Morgan." Nathan almost dropped the phone. "Ms. Morgan, please give me the opportunity dash." "I'm not interested in excuses," Gabriella interrupted him, her voice calm but firm. "I'm interested in solutions." "Solutions?" Nathan repeated, confused. "Phoenix Security is acquiring the Summit building as soon as the liquidation begins. But not for our offices." She took a calculated pause. "We're going to turn it into the Phoenix Technology and Diversity Center, an innovation hub focused on supporting professionals from underrepresented groups in technology. And I believe you have something to contribute to this project." Nathan blinked, stunned. "Me? After all, why?" "Because you didn't create Summit's toxic culture, you just failed to recognize and correct it. And there's a fundamental difference between failing and sabotaging." Across town, Gabriella turned to her team, who were watching her with admiration. "This was never about revenge," she explained calmly. "It was about transformation. What happened in that lobby was just the catalyst for something that needed to change a long time ago." She looked out of the window at the city skyline, where the Summit building stood out. Soon, that symbol of prejudice would be the center of a movement for real change in the industry. "The difference between revenge and justice," Gabriella concluded, "is that revenge destroys, but justice rebuilds." At that moment, what no one could have predicted was how this transformation would only be the beginning. The fall of Summit and the rise of the Phoenix Center would trigger waves of change that would redefine the entire technology industry, and the true impact of Gabriella's plan would be far beyond what anyone could have imagined. A year has passed since the collapse of Summit Technologies. The imposing glass and steel building that once bore the company's logo now displayed a different symbol, a golden phoenix emerging from stylized flames, with the words Phoenix Innovation Center glowing in the morning sun. Gabriella Morgan walked through the wide, bright corridors, observing what she had created from the ashes of humiliation. Where once there were corporate partitions and rigid hierarchies, now young people from diverse backgrounds collaborated in open spaces. The lobby, once the scene of his humiliation, now housed a permanent exhibition on diversity in technology, with stories of underrepresented innovators who changed the world. "The figures for the third quarter exceeded all expectations," reported Camila Torres, now Director of Educational Programs, handing Gabriella a tablet. 247 young people certified in our cybersecurity programs, 83% of them already employed, and 4 startups from our incubator received series of funding." Gabriella smiled genuinely. "What about the program for women in leadership positions?" "A 6-month waiting list," Camila replied, unable to contain her pride. "We're expanding to meet demand." On the opposite side of town, in a small cafe away from the center, Diana Reed was serving cappuccinos with trembling hands. After becoming the face of corporate discrimination in countless articles and viral videos, no prestigious company would accept her CV. The job at the cafe was her third in 12 months. The customers eventually recognized her, and the comments began. Soon it would be time to look for another one. Meanwhile, in a federal courtroom, Gregory Palmer nervously adjusted his threadbare tie. The former Summit executive was facing charges of market manipulation and insider trading. His attempt to blame Gabriella Morgan for Summit's collapse had turned against him when his own clandestine communications with Nexus Dynamics were exposed. Now he faced not only financial ruin, but the possibility of prison. Back at the Phoenix Center, Nathan Blackwell, former CEO of Summit, was finishing a presentation to young entrepreneurs. His expression was different, more humble, more reflective. When Gabriella offered him a position as a mentor, many questioned her decision. Why give a second chance to someone who allowed it to happen? Gabriella's answer had been simple, because transformation requires people to change, not just to be punished. A group of students surrounded Nathan after his talk on business ethics and corporate responsibility. "What was it like to run a company that literally imploded because of discrimination?" asked a fearless young woman. Nathan didn't hesitate. It was the greatest lesson of my life. I used to believe that it was enough not to be actively prejudiced. I didn't realize that allowing others to be, that creating a culture where it was tolerated, made me equally responsible. In the main office, Gabriella gathered her executive team. On the big screen, news reports showed how the Phoenix Center had inspired similar initiatives in other corporations. 3 tech giants now had programs modeled on what Gabriella had built, and legislation based on her practices was being discussed in Congress. When I was humiliated in that lobby, Gabriella told the group, I had 2 options, revenge or transformation. Revenge would have destroyed Summit and ended it there. Transformation, she gestured to the surrounding room, continues to generate waves that change lives far beyond our own. Lauren Chun, who had followed Gabriella from Phoenix Security, smiled. I remember when you said it wasn't about revenge, but about consequences. I didn't think it was possible to separate the two. The difference, Gabriella explained, is that revenge only serves those who have been hurt. Consequences can serve everyone, including those who made the mistake. That afternoon, during the graduation ceremony of the center's first full class, Gabriella watched with pride the faces of the young professionals who, a year earlier, would have been judged by their appearances in corporate lobbies just as she had been. When you enter a building and someone suggests you use the service entrance, she said in her final speech, remember, you weren't meant to enter through back doors. You were made to break down walls and build new paths. The audience rose to their feet in thunderous applause. Among them was a young woman who had been a receptionist at Summit and who, after months of letters begging for an opportunity, had been accepted into the basic training program. Her tear-filled eyes met Gabriella's from a distance, not with resentment, but with silent gratitude for the second chance she never expected to receive. The world doesn't change when we punish those who make mistakes, Gabriella concluded. It changes when we turn the mistake into a lesson, and the lesson into a legacy. When you feel you are being underestimated or disrespected, remember this story. Sometimes the most powerful response is not to destroy what exists, but to build something better in its place. If this message has touched your heart, leave your comment below, share it with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe for more stories that show how to turn injustice into inspiration. Because the best revenge will never be destruction, it will always be rebuilding a world where that injustice can no longer exist.